Hello everyone and welcome back to Lewis News, and in today's video we are going to be talking about Greg Weisman, who is back writing Spider-Man, specifically Spectacular Spider-Man, or should I say Spectacular Spider-Men. Now this is a piece of news that I've wanted to talk about for a very long time now, a few weeks, but obviously a lot of Madam Web stuff has gotten in the way because that's at the forefront. That film comes out in just over 3 weeks time. But Greg Weisman is back writing Spider-Man. He is writing the Spectacular Spider-Man comic book. Now that might turn some viewers off. They don't like comic books, they only like the shows and the movies and stuff. However, even if you don't like comic books, I would 100% recommend trying to pick this up and read this, because Spectacular Spider-Man obviously proved Greg Weisman as a writer, as a producer, and proved that he can handle Spider-Man better than most writers can. So that is already a reason to read this book. But number two, it is going to be a return to form for Spider-Man comic books. If you've wanted to get into Spider-Man comic books, this year is the year. We've got Ultimate Spider-Man, written by Jonathan Hickman, and now Spectacular Spider-Man, written by Greg Weisman. And obviously everyone knows that Spider-Man comic books haven't been great for a long time. However, 2024 is going to be the year to get into them, so I definitely recommend. However, if you're still not convinced, I'm going to be going through the details in today's news video. So yes, Spectacular Spider-Man means that this will be the book that follows both Peter Parker and Miles Morales teaming up to take down villains and go on all sorts of adventures together. It's going to be really, really awesome to see the dynamic between these two Spider-Men be written by such a prestigious Spider-Man writer. The art for the book will be done by Humberto Ramos, who you guys may recognize. He did a lot of Spider-Man stuff before, especially with Dan Slott and Nick Spencer. So he has got a very familiar art style for a very modern Spider-Man. So the book is going to look really, really good as well. But what is the book going to be about? Well, we know right now it's going to kick off with a run-in with the Jackal, and the Jackal is going to be one of the first villains in the series, which is going to be really, really cool. And the whole idea of this series in the first place, as stated by Greg Weisman himself, is that they want to create a comic book that brings both Peter and Miles together and makes a series out of that dynamic. Because we haven't really seen this. Yeah, Miles and Peter interact in the comics all the time. They interact in the movies. Obviously, we've seen the Spider-Verse movies as well. But there isn't an official, very long-lasting series that goes on monthly that really tackles the dynamic between Peter and Miles. We had the Spider-Men books that came out a few years ago as well. But they were mostly single-issued, maybe 3, 4, 5 issues long. And they weren't really that big of a deal in terms of expressing a new dynamic between these two characters. So this is going to be big for both Peter and Miles. And obviously, in terms of adaptations, so in terms of the movies, the games, the TV shows going forward, I think a lot of the dynamics that we are going to see between Peter and Miles going forward in Spider-Man media, maybe it's on Disney Plus, whatever it is in the movies, will be based off this comic book, because this comic book is going to be a staple for both of these characters and the dynamic and the relationship that they have with one another. And Greg Weisman himself has given us a little teaser as to what we could expect in this book as well. And I quote, he said, "It's fun for me because in this book, I see the younger Miles trying really hard to show his maturity to his mentor Peter, while the older Pete feels free to let out his inner 16-year-old with Miles." So there's a bit of role reversal to the normal mentor-protege relationship than one might expect to see. And I think this is really interesting because, as we do know, a problem that a bunch of fans have had with the Spider-Man books over the last few years is that Peter always acts like a teenager and he never grows up. Well, this book is going to give him an excuse to act like a teenager, and I imagine that Greg Weisman is going to play off this fact for Peter's character and Peter's story throughout this series. So it's really interesting that they're going to tackle this issue and they're going to tackle the story in this book. And just in case that doesn't sound appealing to you, he also goes on to say, "But I think both Pete and Miles still feel very true to character. And when things get serious, so do our boys." What we are seeing here is the evolution from mentor and protege to them simply being good friends. And that change of status, in process as it is, really interests me as a writer. So once again, that dynamic between Peter and Miles is going to shift, it's going to change, and I could definitely see a lot of adaptations in the future taking inspiration from this, depending obviously on how good it is. But it's Greg Weisman. I don't doubt nearly 1,000,000% that this is going to be in any way, shape, or form bad. This is going to be great. This is one of those things where I think you can confirm that this book is going to be great. It's like saying Beyond the Spider-Verse is going to turn out bad. It's not. Beyond the Spider-Verse, I think everyone knows is going to slap, even if it's slightly more mediocre than the last. It's still going to slap. This book, The Spectacular Spider-Man, it's going to slap, okay? There's no doubt about it. So if you are a Spider-Man fan and you've never read a comic book before in your life, I'd 100% recommend jumping on at this point. The book comes out in March, so if any more news comes out about this book in the future, the next couple of months, I will be covering it all on the channel. However, when the book does come out, I also want to plug Lewis Films here as well. If you don't know about my main channel, Lewis Films, I'll probably be reviewing the book over there, so make sure you're subscribed to Lewis Films as well. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching this video. Are you guys excited for the Spectacular Spider-Man? I certainly am. I cannot wait to read this. Like I said, if any more news comes out about this book in the future that we need to cover, then I will be covering it on the channel. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care and peace.